We all know the feeling, the sheer weight of carrying past mistakes, coupled with the exhausting anxiety of pushing toward a fixed future. But this weight is not a physical law. It is a byproduct of a mind that acts as a compulsive editor. We experience an isolated moment, and then another. Instead of letting them stand alone, the mind instantly edits them together to form a story. There is actually no physical thread binding 10 a.m. to 10:01 a.m. We force those points together to create a rigid timeline. Once constructed, we feel its false momentum. The line builds mass, convincing us that yesterday's choices actively drag us into tomorrow. Outside of that psychological editing process, this continuous track does not exist. As these notes show, the actual mechanics of consciousness reveal a different structure. Every single moment is unique and completely non-dependent on the one that came before it. The baggage you've been hauling is entirely fabricated. You are exhausted from dragging a timeline that isn't actually there. If we strip away the psychological stitching of time, the physical world looks very different. To understand the remaining structure, we have to look at the mechanics of matter itself. Beneath the illusion of time, everything in creation is built from a single point of origin. Imagine a single particle of consciousness vibrating back and forth so rapidly that it paints the appearance of a solid object. When you observe your surroundings from this perspective, the physical world changes. What looks like a heavy object is actually a sequence of discrete snapshots, flickering between positions to create a solid world. Each of these flashes is a state space. These are static frequency configurations, like individual frames of film floating in the void. Because the universe is built from these disconnected, static frames, it is physically impossible for the momentum of one moment to bleed into the next. There is no line connecting the frames in the first place. If these state spaces aren't lined up on a linear track, where do they actually go? They surround you. The true structure of the multiverse is an expansive, interconnected web where all realities and frames coexist simultaneously around the observer. Notice how each monitor represents a unique idea, a specific configuration of patterns that exist at the exact same time. Your position in this architecture is the center. Your core consciousness is the fixed center of this universe, interpreting these independent experiences. Progression is never a journey along a track. It is the act of standing perfectly still at the center of creation and shifting your radial perspective. Because all frames radiate equally from your central perspective, there is no hierarchy. Since these frames are disconnected and you are the constant center, you are never trapped in the sequence. To navigate this space, locate the one place that isn't a frame. Return to the fixed center, the indestructible core of your being. This is the zero state. It functions like a reset point, an unmanifest plenum existing before any form or story emerges. By settling your consciousness into this central portal, the narrative of the timeline falls away. You are entering a state of absolute neutrality and quiet stillness. Stop trying to push your life forward. Once you release the psychological stitching, you can stop fighting the momentum and simply surrender to the center. From this core, change is not a laborious fight. You can step into a totally new reality without dragging any previous momentum into it, because you've realized the frames were never connected. Life is not a heavy line you are being dragged along. It is an infinite gallery of independent frames, and from the quiet of zero space, you possess the power to simply choose the next one.